So, today we're going to show you, relative to anything that you want to talk about, how to move up the emotional scale. And the emotional scale, by that we mean it's the vibrational relativity meter. It's the meter that lets you know how much resistance or how much allowing is going on within you right now. Now, what do we mean by that? You are extensions of source energy. You are pure positive energy in physical bodies. The only source that ever flows to you and through you is that of well-being. Liquid love, pure positive energy. There is not a source of badness or a source of evil, you know. Now, you can focus upon something and beat the drum of it long enough that you can activate in your vibration something that is totally opposite of wellness, and in doing so, you can disallow the wellness, but it is your allowing or disallowing, it is your allowing or resistance of the well-being that equals your experience on all subjects. So, only well-being flows. Your emotional guidance lets you know about that vibrational relativity. Now, your inner being, your source, vibrates here in this pure positive place. And that feels like love, joy, appreciation, passion, invigoration, enthusiasm. That feels so good. When you think thoughts that are so contradictory in nature to that which you know from your non-physical perspective, you feel emotions that feel like discouragement, or even worse, depression, fear. Those emotions are indication of strong resistance. So there is allowing of the well-being or resisting of the well-being. And on this emotional scale, of course, you know, there are lots of emotions in between. You can move up the emotional scale from a place of depression or fear into a place of anger or rage or hatred, or into a place of frustration or overwhelmment, into places that you would call pessimism or hopefulness or optimism, into places that you would call believing or knowing or joy or love or all of those wonderful things. And there are many words that we have not used in this emotional scale, but you can feel where they fit along that emotional scale. So the emotional scale on one end of it is your perception of freedom, isn't it? When you feel joy, love, enthusiasm, passion, wouldn't you say you feel free and empowered? And on the other end, down there where despair and fear and depression are, isn't that the quintessential description of disempowerment? So your emotional guidance system, the way it feels to you, is about your disempowerment all the way to your empowerment. And you are such empowered beings. You are such powerful creators. You are genius creators here in these physical bodies, out here on the leading edge of thought. And when someone or something causes you to feel not powerful, you freak out on every level of your being. And rightly so. In other words, you are supposed to feel good. And when you don't, please return to the highlighted route. Choose the emotion that is close to where you are. In other words, if we met someone, some dear heart like you, and we found you in that place of fear or depression, maybe someone has diagnosed you with a disease, or maybe something that has happened and you feel utterly powerless in your experience, we would ask you questions with a sincere intent of coaching you into the life-giving breath of fresh air that revenge would bring you. Or rage or anger. Now, your friends wouldn't appreciate us doing that. They liked you better when you were depressed. When you were depressed, you were off in your room, you weren't bothering anybody. But in revenge, you're punching holes in tires. Well, we would not encourage you to stay there very long, but from a personal standpoint of the way you feel, do you not easily acknowledge that you would rather be angry than fearful? Or angry than depressed? And the reason you would rather be angry is because it feels better. And the reason that it feels better is because it's higher on the emotional scale. It's closer to who you are. In other words, there's less resistance in anger than there is in fear. Now, we're not encouraging you to stay there, but we think it's a wonderful stop-off point. In other words, if we were depressed and we got to that life-giving breath of fresh air that anger would bring, we would announce to everyone, I'm angry and I like it. It feels so much better. At least I can breathe here. So if you don't like it, stay clear of me for a while, because I'm going to stabilize here and think of everything that I can think of that makes me mad, because I feel so much better here than I felt. And then in a few days, maybe even tomorrow, maybe even later today, but not right now, later I'm going to move into frustration. But for now, I'm happy in anger. You have to decide. This is a key. You have to decide that it matters to you how you feel. And furthermore, you have to decide that it matters more to you how you feel than how people feel about how you feel. Because if they would rather you were in depression, and no one would admit it, but they'll take you to anger management seminars, they will. And in those anger management seminars, they'll tell you how wrong you are and how inappropriate your anger is. And they forget to tell you that it was a knee-jerk response, that it was a natural impulse. They forget to tell you that it was your saving your own life sort of syndrome that brought you there. In other words, it's self-survival instinct that brought you into anger. And just because those out there don't like you in anger, we say too bad. Because they cannot discern the vibrational relativity between where you are and where you want to be. You're the only one who can tell whether or not you're on your path. And so many of you seem lost on your path because you're trying to listen to that one, you're listening to that one, you're listening to that one, and they have no clue about the improvement in your emotion. Can you see what sort of goes wrong? When you're trying to take score based upon manifestation, but manifestation can't happen till you line up your energy, and in your effort to line up your energy, you go into emotions that other people don't want you to go in, so they chastise you for being in those emotions. We can see why you keep turning around and going back to Phoenix, and then feeling lost out in the desert because you cannot tell how to quantify the journey. But now you know. You are never, ever again going to feel negative emotion and not know that all it means is you're beating the drum of something that's holding you in a pattern of resistance that's not letting you move toward what you are wanting to move toward. So, when you go home and you tell your friends that Abraham is encouraging revenge and then rage and then anger, please go on to tell them that we're not encouraging that you stay there. We want you to get into anger because it's a stepping stone from depression. But once you're in anger, you can easily jump to frustration. And once you're in frustration, you can easily move up the scale. We can take anyone from frustration anywhere up the scale in a matter of 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 minutes. In other words, it doesn't take that long. If you're willing to focus and pay attention, you can easily move into a place of lesser and lesser resistance. You are on the brink of so many magnificent manifestations. If you could see the aerial view that we see of your lives, you would be knocked out at the stuff that's lined up right outside your door. All this stuff that's being held for you in vibrational escrow, all you got to do is improve your vibrational relationship just a little bit. And magnificent things are going to come into your experience. You've just got to accept, first, that you are a vibrational being. Second, that law of attraction is managing all of the vibrations of the universe. Third, that your emotional guidance system is letting you know what you're doing vibrationally, and that if it feels good, it is. And last and most important, you've got to decide that you're not going to give a rip what anybody else thinks, because they can't get inside of your vibrational relationship meter and understand why you're doing what you're doing. Think about it. If someone's trained themselves into mostly appreciation, and they are working with you, or they're married to you, or they go home to a family reunion and they meet you. In other words, law of attraction doesn't naturally bring you together, but sometimes you follow some commitment and you walk right into it. And so they're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. They're someplace in a place of appreciation, and they encounter you in your anger. Of course they're going to try to tell you that you're not in a good place, like they need to tell you that you're not in a good place. The vibrational relativity between where you are and where they are is obvious. But you can't do anything about the vibrational relativity between they are and where you are. You can only move within your own emotional range, you see. So thank them politely and then tell them to get out of your face, because their well wishes, while they mean well, are usually irritating. You've got to decide that you are singularly going to be aware of your emotional guidance system. And those people who know you and watch you will begin to marvel about what begins to take place in your life. They'll notice that your mood on a myriad of subjects is beginning to improve because you're making it so. And they're going to begin to notice that manifestations are surrounding you. All kinds of things that you have been wanting will begin to flow easily into your experience. And when they say, "What is your secret?" tell them confidently, "I discovered my own guidance system. I finally am able to quantify every single journey. I am now no longer lost relative to anything. I can feel improvement in the way I feel about money, and more money is coming. I'm feeling happier about people, and nicer ones are showing up. I'm making lists of positive aspects about the significant people in my life, and our relationships are improving. I made peace with my body, and it's feeling better every single day." In other words, all it took was my decision that I wanted to feel good. So if a thought didn't feel good, I tried to choose one that felt better. And once I found one that felt better, I practiced it until that was the dominant thought. And then I tried to find one that felt even better. And at first it was sort of hard, but then I found it and I practiced it until it became my dominant thought. Well, we're done. Now you know everything we know. Law of attraction abounds. You get what you think about. You can tell what you think about. You can control what you think about. But don't try to manage your thoughts. Instead, reach for a feeling. Creating from the inside out. Coaxing yourself into thoughts that match the thoughts of your source. When your inner being is present within you, you feel wonderful. Jerry and Esther can be sitting in a restaurant, and Esther can think or speak some sweet thing about some waiter or waitress, and goosebumps will ripple through her. In other words, Source is so ready to join you in your praise. And when you go someplace other than praise, you feel that empty feeling that you always get when you disallow your connection with your own source. It is only someone who doesn't understand law of attraction, who's still trying to sort out conditions, that condemns someone else and thinks that they're going to get anywhere in doing it. The more you push against what you do not want, the more you activate what you do not want, and the more it shows up in your experience. And then the more you feel like you need to join those activist groups. We know how it goes. But never again are you going to feel negative emotion and not know that it means something important in the vibrational relativity between who you really are and what you are allowing yourself to be in this moment. Magnificent guidance available within you. We have enjoyed this interaction immensely. Indeed. You're full of yourselves. It feels good to feel good. You are pure positive energy in physical bodies, and it is exhilarating beyond verbal description for us to interact with you out here on this leading edge of thought. Be as good to yourself as you can be, and everyone else too. Reach for thoughts that feel good, no matter what the direction of them. And if they don't feel good, just try to make them feel as good as they can feel. And if they still don't feel good, just try to make them feel as good as they can feel. And if they still don't feel good, just try to make them feel as good as they can feel. And if you'll stay with it for as little as 68 seconds, you'll have a breakthrough where they will feel just a little gooder. And then pat yourself on the back and say, that was a minute well spent. There is great love here for you. We are complete.